You're listening to The Power Project. I'm your host, Brandy Voth. I also like to think that I'm your guide along this journey of purpose, which is where you will hopefully end up at the end of this podcast. I'm a mom, a wife, a daughter, a friend, an entrepreneur, an advocate in the fight against human trafficking. I wear a lot of hats, y'all, but don't we all? And most importantly, I am passionate about inspiring women to go out and lead purpose-filled lives while owning your God-given power. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, welcome back to The Power Project, you guys. I am honored and grateful to have my guest on today. She has a very, very busy schedule, and thanks to all of us having a little bit of a pause in our normal activities, we've been able to connect online. Today, my guest, Becca Stevens, is the founder and president of Thistle Farms. She is also an Episcopal priest, and we're going to have a chat today about all the things. And hey, Becca, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you very much. And I think I should now be referred to as formally busy.
I know. Isn't it crazy how you can go from being so incredibly busy to everything being halted?
And the crazy thing is, for me, it's not, and I think for a lot of people, it's just busy in a different way. You know, it's not halted. You know, my kids have come home from college. All the folks have come home to roost in our quarantine. So all that's taken up, and then feeding our communities has become a big thing for me. So I'm not traveling anymore. I'm not going around and speaking. I'm not doing fundraising, doing more laundry. I'm feeding about 50 families, and I'm doing a lot more ministry. I mean, this is a time when people are reaching out saying, you know, I'm scared, or a loved one is really sick. Can you help me? You know, and I've sent old prayers over text for people to pray over people because you can't even be with them, or just gotten on the phone and listened to people just while they're in those moments where this is taking its toll.
Yeah. And I think, what you're saying is so relevant to me because I too had speaking engagements lined up for the year that obviously are not happening. I went from having the busiest year on schedule to, like you said, doing laundry. And there was 10 years that I was a stay-at-home mom. That's been a while since we've been there. So navigating that, and I want to kind of touch a little bit on what you said about really doing more ministry and more prayers and more scriptures. I was listening to a podcast yesterday about this is really a restructuring of the church, but it's not necessarily a bad thing in that aspect. It opens itself up to a new opportunity for us. And can you maybe touch a little bit on your experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, I've like everybody else, for my little chapel that I run, we've gone online. We're at Vanderbilt University, so it all shut down pretty quickly. And we got online and realized we were talking to people we had never, St. Augustine's Chapel, we had never talked to before, and trying to get creative. My husband's a musician, my son's a musician, so, you know, it was easy to have music. You know, we have guitars and songs in Nashville anywhere we go. So the music and the praying and the being together online, but it's a different thing. I mean, talking to somebody online is a very different thing than being there in person. The other thing I keep thinking too is that, like all things in life, we're going through phases. We were talking a little bit before we even started about the first 2 weeks felt really different. The next 2 weeks feel really different. The next 2 weeks are going to feel really different. And we are all going through a process, and we don't have to know like what the lesson was for the church or what the lesson is for all the not-for-profits we run yet. I think right now, the brave thing to do is to be in it and to say, be gentle with ourselves. This is where we are. We're going to be okay. Reassure ourselves. Be willing to be present for people who are going through stuff. But not to say, like, this was my lesson of Corona. Like, I don't want to think I know that yet. I still think, you know, I mean, they're talking about there's going to be other waves coming through, too. And I think for some of us more in the southern states, it's really just coming this way now. And so I'm really trying not to be the smart one in the room, which is hard for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for all of us to say like, okay, well, I know what this is, and I've got the 4 C's that are going to lead us through it. I'm really trying to be a person who is saying, I get that in the 28 years that I've been ordained, this may be the most humbling part of my ministry. I never was too good to take out the trash. I never was too good to be the one delivering the food boxes. Just keep doing that small, basic stuff and know that those are the big deeds right now.
How do you show up? So in a time where we are socially distancing, and I work with traffic survivors, and I know that I can't go to the house and teach the class that I teach at the house. So we've hopped on Zoom and chatted on Zoom. And how do we continue serving our communities when we are stay home orders and shelter in place orders and social distance orders, especially because you and I both know that the most vulnerable population is the populations that we see that no one's protecting and taking care of? How do we show up and serve that community and still protect our families and our health?
This is a time, for me at least, where I think in community especially, we have to exercise our creative muscles as best we can. So it looks all kinds of different things for all kinds of different times. I mean, I started doing this front porch pantry, meaning that for the 200 women who are all survivors, who have graduated the programs of Thistle Farms or are residents of our community still, and their families and friends, we take food to them. So I'm ordering huge amounts of food online that are all delivered to my front porch. My 3 sons, all in their 20s, bag it. And then we drop it off at people's houses. And we put notes in there, and it's really fun. And then, we've started helping people with all kinds of rituals. I mean, Thistle Farms is a bath and body care company. So we make this stuff. We make hand sanitizer, not for sale. We just make it. But we make soaps for sale. We make all kinds of stuff, healing oils that are cleansing. I mean, people are just now realizing, wow, frankincense really does disinfect the air. So to make things and make them in a ritualistic way is one way that we can really show up for each other. Like, I have made so many hand sanitizers. I've made so many masks for people I love, and that is showing up, even if you're doing it alone in your house and bringing it to folks. For me, part of this has been this. I've worked for so long to build community. And now I'm seeing we do get to kind of rest in the bed that we made. Our community is strong and the women are strong, and it's going in that way. It's gone pretty well. But I mean, it's a long haul, and manufacturing has shut down for us. Our cafe has shut down for us. There's been a lot. So I'm not trying to make it seem easy, but I also think the more we have practiced rituals in community, the better we are, even when we're apart, practicing those rituals because we're connected. One example is we have been lighting a candle. So we make candles too. And we've been probably 2 or 3 times a week, but definitely every Wednesday, we get together and we have a circle and we light the candle and we check in with each other, and everybody's together. And we've done that through floods in Nashville, through tornadoes in Nashville, when people are getting married or having babies or somebody has died. We always come together and light that candle. And during this time apart, we'll have 80 people on the Zoom call, 100 people on the Zoom call, and everybody has their candle in their home. And you think, this is so little. And it is so brave to still light a candle, because every time we light a candle, we say, we light this candle for the woman that is still on the street and the woman trying to find her way home. And in the face of this, to keep lighting that candle, to me at least, is one of the ways I have felt so connected and so grateful that I know that we're all together in this.
I feel personally, there's 2 parts of all of this, that I feel such a greater connectivity of humanity globally. I feel like there's this pool where we're so much more connected than we've ever been before, where I can talk to you about your friends that are fighting the virus, and you can understand my friend that's fought the virus, and we can both understand the woman on the street that hasn't found her way yet, right? But this is something, because it's not a judge of race, religion, culture, nationality. I feel so much connected to humanity, but I also feel that we have personally, believers, such a deeper eternal connection right now. Like for me personally, and this may just be my experience, for me personally, I feel like the whole idea that this life on this planet is not the end goal is just so much more clear to me right now than any other time. And it doesn't minimize how I feel as a human walking through it. And I don't know if you've gone through that phase of it or not.
Well, I love what you're saying, and I also want to. What it made me think about is I had a birthday a couple days ago.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. But what happened on my birthday? I don't even like birthdays, and I don't even think about birthdays that much. And I was thinking how precious it was to have a birthday, and that's what I spent the day in and out of. Just, people had left cards on my porch. People wrote notes, and I felt so grateful. And then we had a birthday dinner with just, my 3 sons and my husband and one of my son's girlfriend that's with us. And nobody went and bought presents, right? There was just cards. It was so wild. We had a dinner, and it was 6 cards, 6 birthday cards was the party. And I wept through every one of the cards, and it was like, what a gift that the cards aren't just waiting for something else that you're going to open in a little bit. The card was the gift, and the words were the gift, and being together in the midst of this was the gift. And we knew how precious it is that we are well, and we're together, and we're home, and we're safe. And so there is a sweetness of just relishing like you're saying, it's the gift of life, and this gift of life that we have been given, and to celebrate it, and to know that, like you're saying, it's not the end. All our journeys begin and end with God, and we're heading somewhere. But this time together, when we know I know several people who are fighting the virus, and it's like, I don't want to go to mad. I don't want to go to politics on it. I just want to stay in this place of like, real gratitude for whatever is in front of me. And when I get frustrated, and I do get frustrated, I mean, when you're still helping run a couple communities, this is a frustrating time, and it's a worrisome time. When I get that way, I think, you know what, my glass isn't half full, my glass is just too big. Just get small again. Take those few precious drops that you've been given today and let it fill your cup.
That's I love that. I think it's just such a beautiful statement, and the best way that I could possibly sum up everything, because there is this sense of great blessing that I feel every single day, and also great grief that I feel every single day. And so I think that's an amazing way to sum it up. As a running organizations, I have so many friends right now in the nonprofit space, and so many friends right now that are scrambling and at a loss. And I know that you're connected, I believe, with Refuge for Women. I'm a volunteer with Refuge for Women. We have a couple other ranch hand rescue here in North Texas. But so many of my nonprofit organizations that I work with are sitting here saying, I have so much stress right now, such a burden. I'm so heavy on continuing to pull donations in economic uncertainty, and also taking care of the community we serve, and also reaching the community we haven't yet served. How are you, kind of a 2-part there, how are you navigating not letting that overwhelm you, for starters, because it's a lot of weight, and also evolving in the way that you can serve your organization now and continue?
Well, yeah, I mean, evolving is the whole thing, right? Being adaptable and being rooted enough to be flexible to bend. That's what it is, being rooted enough to being flexible to bend. Again, I think the work that we have put in is what is sustaining and paying off. So we have a beautiful community of people who buy our bath and body care products online. Our online sales are up about 300%.
Wow, that is awesome.
Mm-hmm. It is awesome. So that has been the gift. People have stuck with us. They know that, we've tried to educate folks like, for this virus, you don't need an antibacterial soap. That does you no good. The soap itself is what gets all of that off your hands. It's not a bacteria, it's a virus. And so our soap sales have been out the roof, which is amazing. And even though, some of our enterprises have shut down, especially with that grant loan that's coming through, and we have an amazing fundraising team, an amazing CEO, all of that's happening. We're pretty good. As far as that part of it goes. The other thing though is that, so Thistle Farms is, it's a global movement for women's freedom. We work with women who are survivors of trafficking, prostitution, and addiction. And we've grown to a national network of about 50 affiliated organizations. And globally, we have 30 global partners. So one of the ways that we are, again, exercising our creative muscles in this is we have a group of women who make beautiful, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, containers for our healing oils. So they've switched. They're making masks now. 100% they're making masks. And those will be shipped everywhere. We're able to translate that fast enough that it's going to be here, within probably, I don't know, by the time this airs, probably it'll be here. So I think, we're trying to still serve and love all kinds of people, and remember that the women survivor leaders can be great ministers in that too. And they have forever, women have made arts and crafts to heal their communities. And I love that in the midst of this crisis, we want women who can sew. How fun are men and women who can sew, but I'm just like, how many of us have forgotten how to sew?
Mm-hmm.
How many of us have forgotten that this radical revolutionary arts and crafts are what are so important in the community and in ritual and in the church. So that part of it, I thrive in. I really do.
Hey guys, if you've considered starting a podcast, but you're overwhelmed by how to actually launch, I've created a basics of podcasting course over on Skillshare. So you can sign up for my course and get 2 months of free premium membership. Skillshare is where I learn all types of skills that I don't know how to do otherwise. I'll include the link in the show notes. You can head over to Skillshare and search Brandy Voth's class, The Basics of Podcasting.
Tell me a little about how you got started with Thistle Farms, where that evolved from, how that happened.
Well, I wanted to work with women who were on the streets for as long as I can remember. I wanted that before I got ordained. And it comes from, I had a lot of brokenness in my own life. I had abuse in my own life. My dad was killed by a drunk driver, then abused in the church. And sadly, it's a pretty common story. But I had this really great and practical mom. I had a great mom. She was 35 when she was widowed, 5 kids.
Golly.
And she was amazing in so many ways. And so I never had this big conversion experience, but I always knew that, our job is to look out for the underdog. Our job is to, if we love God and we want to serve, to be there for other people. That is one of the best ways we do our own healing work. It's one of the best ways that we love ourselves and our God. So I knew I wanted to do it. I got ordained, had a couple kids, and finally in 97 opened up the first home. And I just said I wanted to do it exactly how I would want it done for me, which was 2 years, no cost to live there, and no authority living in the house. I've done it. And we grew it small and we grew it purposely, but it was always my heart to say we could do this. Like you could build a house like a cathedral for people coming off the streets. It could be that beautiful and that lavish. And it turns out it's really economically smart too, to do things in this justice work in a non-competitive way and in a really lavish way. That's how I was raised and that's how I've lived. And it's been the biggest joy of my life for going on 25 years.
And I think that what you do with the collaboration piece of it is is so crucial, and the affiliates. And because I think there are so many people that want to help, and they want to go start something that's already there, that is already being done. And instead, and then they fall into a bit of a competitive piece. And there's only so much grant money, or there's only so many volunteers, or and look, the bottom line is we don't have enough beds. We don't have enough people serving. We don't have enough job opportunities for survivors coming out of these programs. And so how do we get more people to be more collaboratively minded and tap into resources that are already there? And I'm asking this as I have a social enterprise that was scheduled to launch officially and employ my residents when everything went crazy with this, and I had to stop production. And hats, we're making hats, and it's the Power Hat Company, and we have some beautiful pieces, and the girls in the house will be stamping called words on the leather bands on the hats. You've got warrior, enough, overcomer, restored. So it's been really exciting, and it's been something that's been in the works, and we literally were pressing play. Like, I had orders to place. We have samples created. I had mentors lined up with the girls, teaching them leather tooling and stamping literally the week that everything went sideways with this. So it's okay. God just said not yet, right? It's okay. We're sitting. But how do we get people to realize, because I came in as a volunteer to mentor survivors and work with survivors and teach classes. And I saw the missing piece was they need a job. They need gainful employment. They need something that attaches them to purpose. And what can I do right here with the resources that I have as a business owner? How do we get people to start plugging into those areas and realizing the missing pieces and how they can serve and how they can plug into what is existing?
Well, to me, it's like every one of us wants to feel like we're doing ministry and doing meaningful work. And people want ownership. The women that you serve in this company will want some ownership of it. You as a volunteer wanted some ownership of it, because you said my people, people want ownership. And so for us, the idea was to have an affiliated network, meaning we can write grants together. We can share intake forms. We can share strategies. We can have monthly calls so we can all cry together if something happens that's hard. We can, have experts come in and teach us all some new aspect, whether it's legislative or cognitive, behavioral strategies for growth, board development, all those things. We can keep doing all that, and we can still have ownership. No one has to be the boss of each other. We can do it collaboratively in this model known as affiliated networks, so that when there's a group in Northern Texas that has 6 residents, they can say they're part of a national network, an aligned national network that has 350 beds. It looks better on grants for all of us to count each other. Mm-hmm. And we all get to do that. It works better for Thistle Farms to be able to do that. And then what we realized on the marketplace was that the more that we could work with a lot of organizations and pay in a shared trade fashion, not fair trade, but shared trade, meaning everybody's benefiting. And I it's just a model. Anybody that's interested can look at the website and see it. But, the idea was that what consumers want to feel like they are doing good and helping, but they also don't want it to be super, super complicated. So the idea that you can buy from 20 different organizations on one site is great. Mm-hmm. So you can buy stuff from all over the world of women survivors making things. And I love that part of it. So for me, at least, people get like, oh my gosh, yes, to make these beautiful hats. And maybe on your site, you want to add gloves made by somebody in Mongolia that's a survivor, or a blanket made in Cambodia. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think the more you invite other people in, the better it goes for everyone.
Oh, 100%. A rising tide lifts all ships. And I love networking, and I love collaboration. And I can't even tell you.
Me too. Me too.
I can't count how many people that I have spoken with, both in person, in the business and the nonprofit, on the podcast, that every single one is like, you have to meet Becca Stevens with Thistle Farms. Like, you have got to talk to her because they're like, she is doing all the things that you are drawn to. And
see, and now even through this social isolation, we finally get to meet. What a gift.
I know.
That's a gift.
It's the blessing. It's the blessing of today, 100%. Now, I want to also highlight, you guys have a program or a class that people can come to Thistle Farms and do.
Yes, we have National Education Days, and we're having one online at the end of April, and we're having one, I believe, in May. I'd have to look and see. I can't remember. But we're doing it online at the end of April. We thought that would be the safest way to do it, but we don't know what we're going to do for May yet. Yeah, it's a National Education Day. People can just go on the website and see it. It's going to be just a 3-hour seminar for us to do some talking with each other and connect with folks who want to learn more. We've put a pause on some of that too, just, to say, like, this may not be the best time to really try to educate yourself, or it may be a really great time to educate yourself on what the next steps are. Everybody's in a different place, and we're trying to make sure that there's space for all of that. Nobody worry. If you need to wait till the fall, we'll be there.
Yeah. And I think that's how we have to do everything right now. I think we literally have to we can make plans, but we're walking it day by day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How can people best support Thistle Farms right now? What do you guys need most?
There's all kinds of ways. Put a nice story about us on your social media. Tag me, Becca Stevens. That means the world. We'll repost. We'll keep sharing good news. I keep saying, if we could take back social media during this time, it would be amazing. That's one of the biggest things people can do. They can order something online. That would be sweet.
And what's that website?
Thistlefarms.org. Offer a prayer. Just light a candle and offer a prayer. There's a lot of power in that, and there's a lot of beauty in thinking that we have communities praying for each other. That's so beautiful. And the last thing I think I would just say is that just to remember that we are stronger and bigger than a virus. We're going to get through this, and on the other side, we'll want to say, we never gave up. We never gave up.
So I'm going to ask you two things. One is, what do you most hope comes out of this on the other side? And the second is, what do you most want to do when you can freely leave, go wherever you want to go, do whatever you want to do, and see whoever you want to see?
I think on the other side of it, what I hope is that communities feel like they feel good about themselves, of what they went through. I don't want people to have like, it was awful, I regret it, it was blah. So I just hope anybody that is listening on this thinks like, here's what I want to feel at the end, so I'm going to work on that every day. I have people who have said, I'm going to run a marathon, and they never go out and jog. It's like, that's how it is. If you want to be deeper and more spiritual, you better be practicing every day during this. It's a practice. It's doing it. And that's what I hope more than anything is we look back and we feel like we were faithful in it. That's what I hope. What I'm going to do, there's a lot of trips and a lot of things that have been canceled. I had this group of women that I was going to work with in Peru that I'm really sad that trip's not happening May 7th. And it's the Monkey Project, and they crochet these beautiful monkeys, and they all have these stories of resiliency, and it's a beautiful project in the hills of Huancayo in Peru. And what I really want to do is I want to go sit in those mountains. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. So maybe in the fall I'll go.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Love.
And when I can get out of Texas, I want to come to the farms and visit you and visit the property and check it all out.
Come on. We'll hopefully have a cafe and we can actually feed you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. Have an awesome day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode just as much as I did. I wrote a book, you guys, and I would love to have you be part of the official launch team. Head over to the-powerproject.com, sign up for the newsletter, and I will make sure that you are one of the very first to get your hands on this book. If you enjoyed what you heard in today's show, can I ask that you go write a review, give us a rating, we'll take 5 stars, and tell all your friends. I can't wait to chat with you next week, but until then, live your best purpose-filled lives.